Hey everyone, Margarita here. I'm going to talk in this video today more about what I left off saying in the last video. Um, so I mentioned that I got a DUI and it was all a complete setup, and I'm going to skip over some of the circumstances in between how this all occurred. But what I'm going to say is um, where we were coming from that night is I had bartended a private event for somebody that I knew in a group of his people. And a long time ago, I used to have a waitressing bartending company, and he knew that. And that's what was going on this particular evening. So I did know the person that I was with, which is how, like, so these are his group of friends. And when we left there, we were individually in our own vehicles. So he was in front of me, I was behind him, and it was because of the time of night, which I believe it was 1:02 in the morning. That's the time of night it was. So I guess that doesn't help the situation, but we were individually riding one in front of the other, and the whole thing was a false report written. So this officer in particular, he has a history of pulling people over for fraudulent reasons and then saying they did something else. Matter of fact, he actually had like 10 or 12 reports in a very short period of time where he pulled the person over trying to tell them that they had a license plate light out or both of them were out. And he was doing it because of the time of day and the time of whatever day it was, and then the time of evening it was, not because they actually had a license plate light out. So I did some digging into this guy after all of this, and I figured out he writes quite a few false reports, which is how he was one of the top deputies within the Monroe County Sheriff's Office who handed out DUIs in that area. So he was basically pulling people over because of the time of night, saying they got pulled over for something else, and would catch them, and none of these people realized that what this guy was doing except for me. So I am going to read the false report that was written, because not only was it a false report written, he wrote two exact same false reports on the vehicle I was following and mine. And he claimed to be behind me at that time, and he claimed to be behind the vehicle in front of me at that time. Doesn't mention my vehicle in the other report or the other person's vehicle in my report. So right then and there, that throws the entire case out the window. I should have never been charged with it. And it's provable that this guy is writing false reports, especially when you add all the other false reports that I found and how he was pulling people over. And then when you look at how these reports are written, one person can't be two places at once. You can't pull over two people at once and not mention the other person in each report. He's claiming to be behind me separately at the specific time, and then separately behind the car I was following at a separate time. So there's several lies within each report. But I'm only going to read it once because it's literally word for word the same exact report. So right then and there, once this was found, this case should have been dropped immediately due to the corruption just on this guy alone. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot of other circumstances surrounding this situation that I've left out quite a few details and names and things going on. So I'm just going to skip right to this guy who did this. So his name is Balil Bazzi. He is originally, I believe he's originally from Dearborn, Michigan. He was a deputy in the Monroe County, Michigan Sheriff's Office at this time. And after all of this was found and people were kind of talking, he ended up going back and becoming a police officer in Dearborn after this, because he made a lot of rude remarks and racist remarks and different things to different individuals in the area who all had some type of power, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. So after it was found out that this guy did all this, there was just so much talk that I believe it forced him to remove himself from that county or that area and go back into Wayne County, into the city he was initially from. So he is no longer a Monroe County sheriff. I believe he is a Dearborn police officer in Dearborn, Michigan. No, you gotta go. Get out of here. So, again, I'm just going to read one report, but it's literally the same exact report twice. So you can't be two places at once. You can't. But I'm going to read it. And it says on 8/21 of 2022 at approximately 1:02 a.m., Deputy Bazzi was on uniform patrol in a fully marked patrol vehicle 58-37 traveling eastbound on Point Up Poe Road. I was traveling behind a silver in color Hyundai Ioniq. The vehicle was operating carelessly and could not maintain its lane. The vehicle veered off the roadway and almost entered the south side ditch. The vehicle overcorrected and began to drive left of center. I observed the Hyundai Ioniq drive left of center a total of 3 times. Both drivers' side wheels completely crossed the center line. The vehicle would veer back over and almost enter the ditch on several occasions. I activated my emergency lights to conduct a traffic stop. The vehicle came to a stop on Point Uphill Road near Dewey Road. So that was the other vehicle, the one that I was actually behind. So he's lying right there. He's saying he's behind this vehicle. He's watching all these things happen, which did not happen because I was the vehicle behind him. And let me just mention, if we're both just so drunk, how are we making the same exact movements at the same exact time? So that really doesn't make any sense either. But you know what? I'm actually going to read the second report because it's a different vehicle, and there is one line that he slightly shifted the wording. So I'm going to read. So this one is mine. It says, on 8/21/2022 at approximately 1:02 a.m., I, Deputy Bazzi, was on uniform patrol in a fully marked patrol vehicle, 5837, traveling eastbound on Point Uphill Road. I was traveling behind a white in color GMC Terrain. The vehicle was operating carelessly and could not maintain its lane. The vehicle veered off the roadway and almost entered the south side ditch. The vehicle overcorrected and began to drive left of center. I observed the GMC Terrain drive left of center a total of 2 times. Both driver's side wheels completely crossed the center line. The vehicle would veer back over and almost enter the ditch on several occasions. I activated my emergency lights to conduct a traffic stop. Vehicle came to a stop on Point Uphill Road near Dewey Road. So the only thing that was different is he said that my vehicle did the veering back and forth 2 times and the other vehicle did it 3 times. That is the only difference in the entire report. And in reality, the vehicle in front of me, technically, I was the one being pulled over, and the vehicle in front of me voluntarily stopped, technically. But either way you look at it, the whole report was false. I'm not 100% sure if this guy is in on the group of people committing all of the crimes, or if this just so happened to be a fluke and this guy just happened to do this because it appears to me, because of all the reports I ordered, that he was doing this frequently, and he was known to have the most DUI arrests in the entire county, which it's because he's pulling people over fraudulently, and I can prove it. I have the entire stack of reports right here. So it could have been, he could have been a separate situation and just so happened to do this that night. But either way you look at it, he wrote 2 of the same exact reports at the same exact time, not mentioning other vehicles. So this should have been thrown out immediately. We didn't do anything wrong. We weren't driving. Neither one of us was driving recklessly or crossing any lanes. And actually, I don't know if I still have it, but I did have a video of the road. It was being worked on. It was under construction and it had just been repaved. So there was no lines on the road whatsoever. It was one of the back roads. But either way you look at it, it hadn't gotten to the point where they put the lines on it yet. There was no lines. And I'm not even from the area. I wasn't even sure exactly where I was. I was just following my friend in front of me. So I didn't exactly know how far I was or where exactly I was going. I had a general idea of where I was, but I wasn't familiar with the road. So it just seemed like a back road that was kind of slim, but also there was no traffic on it either. And we were literally a half a mile, I think, from where we were actually going. So This could have been a complete fluke. This guy may not actually be involved, but he does have a history of writing all these false reports. So right then and there, everything I stated, he used those same, pretty much the same wording in other DUI reports as well. Not just the tail light being out. So he's done a lot of both of those, but he does use similar wording in all these other reports, not word for word the way these two are, but he does do it repeatedly quite a few times. I believe I ordered a little over a year worth of reports, and he had like, I don't know, 20 of these, I'd say, if not more, in between that time period that I ordered the reports. So neither one of us were doing that. There was no reason to pull us over. Neither one of us were swerving. There wasn't even any lanes to swerve, and neither one of us were about to drive into a ditch or anything. We were driving straight the way we normally would. There wouldn't have been a reason to like follow us, because that's what happened. We got followed first, and then like they caught up to us and pulled us over, and it was basically just because of the time of night. And I believe it was a Saturday night. So it was the night it was and the time. Now, let's just say that this guy is separate from all of this. Doesn't matter. Everything going forward is part of the corruption and the crimes and the people involved. So I will do those in their own video, and I will come back and talk about the probation officer trying to falsify a drug test to make it look like I'm on all these drugs, because that's what my mother was calling and telling her. So I'll be back with more. Thanks. Bye.